this morning, Peter and Gloria, if you'll come this way as part of our stewardship series. Haven't we been so blessed by all the different speakers among us and their own stories? This morning, Peter and Gloria Jurney will be speaking to us. Peter has been a member of the church, some 55 years? He's probably served as the chairperson of every committee you could be on, served in every ministry area, helped actually do the groundwork for building this building when we found out it was built upon a lot of rock, and there's nothing wrong with that except it delayed the process. But they have something important to say to you about stewardship because they practice giving and they practice tithing, and they've done that for a long time. Talk about how God has blessed you so that you all might give. We're anxious to hear from you.
Hi. So Michelle has asked us to talk about how we arrive at the amount that we put on our pledge cards every year. I remember as a small child, my parents handing me out money for the offering at Sunday school. They would give me a nickel. It was a big deal. And we would put that in the offering plate every Sunday morning in our Sunday school opening worship service. When Peter and I got married, it was in September, so it wasn't very many weeks after that the church's pledge drive occurred, and the Sunday arrived for us to bring our cards to put into the box. And we hadn't really talked about it ahead of time. In fact, we forgot to fill out our card, and we were here at church and realized before the service, we had come to rehearse with the choir before the service, so we were here ahead of time. And I was standing out on the front porch, I don't remember why, and Peter came out and he said, "What are we going to put on the pledge card?" It's a tricky discussion for people newlywed to have, and anyway. So I said, well, I tell you what, you take what you pledged last year and what you think we're thinking of pledging this year, and then you know what I make every month, so just take 10% of that and round it up and add it on. Bob's your uncle. So he said to me, well, that sounds easy. And so that's how we arrived at the number in our first year for what we should do. I grew up in a home of a family who had been Christians for a long time. My great-grandfather was a minister of the church where my mother grew up, and he firmly believed in setting aside the first fruits of your income as to the Lord. My father grew up in a similar church where the pastor had a similar point of view because he happened to be the son of the pastor at my mother's church, which was in a different state. So we had this combination of advice from both sides of the family, who were in agreement. It's the Lord's money already. In Haggai, one of the less well-known Bible books, it says in chapter 2, verse 8, all silver and gold belong to me. Of course, that's the Lord speaking. All that we have is his. You may have heard in the past when Peter preaches that he's referred to a hymn in the Lutheran hymnal that we sang many times growing up in chapel services and Sunday services that goes, we give thee but thine own, whate'er the gift may be. All that we have is thine alone, a trust, O Lord, from thee. And that's how we try to live.
Let me move over here. Let me move closer to this instrument. I think I have talked in a previous sermon about the fact that the pastor at the church where Gloria's parents went was her great uncle. And when Louis and Grace were dating, but not yet married, Pastor Smokall would come stand up in the pulpit, and looking directly at Louis, he would say, "Grace be unto you and peace from God our Father," giving him the message that the family approved of him. So that was kind of cool. So we've talked a bit about tithing, and I want to talk for a couple minutes about things that have become important to me. As Michelle mentioned, Gloria and I are members of a covenant disciple group in this church, along with Pastor Michelle and Bob Pearson. These are small groups of 5 to 7 people who meet weekly together for an hour to hold each other mutually accountable for our discipleship. We've been meeting for a little over a year, and I think all 5 of us would say that this group has helped us live out the church's mission to witness to Jesus Christ in the world and to follow his teachings through acts of compassion, justice, worship, and devotion. For some time, I had wished that we could meet in small groups on a regular basis, similar to the class meetings that John Wesley implemented in his congregations and encouraged all Methodists to practice. This covenant group that we attend feeds my soul. And I hope that the rest of you will consider forming or joining such a group. The other thing I want to touch on is UMCOR, the United Methodist Committee on Relief. Twice I have had the privilege, and Gloria once, of spending a week at the UMCOR warehouse in Louisiana, packing up relief supplies for communities in need, be it from flooding, earthquakes, hurricanes, or other disasters. Working there gave us the opportunity to meet Methodists from all over the country and to work side by side with them, sharing meals and fellowship and worshiping together. Many times we would like to give more money for outreach than we are able to afford, but there are many avenues for service to others in place of monetary donations. And UMCOR is one of the most fulfilling paths to helping others. I remember that at the end of the first week in which I had taken part, we had completed several thousand relief kits and loaded them onto pallets. On the last day of that week, a big hurricane hit New England. All the kits we had completed went out the door via trucks bound for New England. It felt good to know that we had played a part in providing assistance to communities that badly needed support. One of the great things about the Methodist Church is our strong commitment to outreach through many avenues, supporting food pantries, housing families in need, working with Family Promise. These are just a few of this congregation's paths to others. By doing so, we are following Christ's teaching in addition to witnessing what Christianity is all about. In the midst of all the bad news we've experienced recently, and there's plenty to go around, God is still shining a light in the darkness. You are that light. You are the disciples who can still shout the good news of Jesus to a world that needs to hear it. God bless you.
Peter. This morning, you'll see some of our crew bringing their offering, bringing their tithes, their commitment. We hope that you at home have talked among yourselves, between yourselves as family members, and decided how you're going to give to the mission and the ministry of the church in the coming year. Today's the first day of collection. We'll be collecting for some time. You may prefer to actually come on November the 7th in person and be able to bring your gift. Nevertheless, we are so grateful for our lay people who have challenged us, who've provided their own tangible tangible examples of God's work in their life and what it means to give a sacrifice of love. May you be blessed as you make your commitment at home or here at church, and as you pray about what God is calling you to do.